Going to call to order Planning Commission meeting. All right, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Vice Chair Garcia,
Here.
Commissioner Krushak,
Here.
Chair Kuhr,
Here.
and Commissioner Pahaana and Commissioner Walker are absent. With excused absence.
These proceedings may be viewed on demand on the City of 29 Palms website at www.29palms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going on the city website and clicking on the meeting's agenda link. Public comments. This is a time for public to address the Planning Commission on issues within the jurisdiction of the Commission that are not on this agenda. All comments are to be directed to the chair of the Commission and shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during their comments. There is a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out name and address slips and give them to the Planning Commission Secretary. The Planning Commission is prohibited by the Brown Act from taking action or discussing at length items not included on the printed agenda. Public comments on specific agenda items will be deferred until consideration of the item on the agenda. I'm going to open public comment. I have 2 slips here so far. Vino, is this for agenda item or now? Okay, go ahead. For you first.
Thank you, Commissioner. Keith, what I'm about to say, I understand it was not done under your watch at that time, but it was done by your department and the building department. In 2008, I built the Holiday Inn Express in 29 Palms. The planning department and the building department had me shut down for 69 days. For 69 days, I paid employees, I paid my mortgage, I was a franchise hotel, I didn't pay royalties because there was no income, but still with the franchise comes a certain expenses like PMS and things like that, I had to pay out of my pocket. Plus, I lost income for 69 days. Why was the hotel being shut? Not because I didn't pass fire department or I didn't pass health department. It's because when the cars pulled up into my parking lot and they parked vertically, the lights would shine on 29 Palms Highway, and I was told that the plants you put in is too small. Unfortunately for me and my family, I was traveling. When I got back, my wife said, hey, this is what happened. And at that time, whoever the community director was, it was very hard to get an appointment with him. It was easier to pull tooth out of a tiger's mouth than to get an appointment. After I landed, after 35 days in the country, I got an appointment. It was very brief, and I was told your plans are too small. The person that helped me open up my place, who is now the county supervisor, at that time, he was a congressman, was Colonel Paul Cook, who's well known in this area. He called up this community director and asked him, what is wrong with you? Did this man put the plans as per the plans? Okay? And this community director said it's too small. Colonel Paul Cook asked me, I said, yes, it called for 5 gallons, I put it. So I was stopped and Colonel Paul Cook helped me open the hotel. I'm not against the Reset Hotel. I like Ben, I like Adam. They've done a great job. It's a great addition to our city. They're gonna create jobs. They're gonna create better property tax for a land that was sitting idle. But what I want to know, during Mother's Day, how did y'all allow them to have an event? He didn't have certificate of occupancy. Life and safety was not taken into consideration. I don't think the pool had passed the health department. I don't know if the building department checked on it. I come and stand here all the time and I say, keep the playing field equal. This
Thank
is
you,
what I'm talking
Reno.
about.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Now for Eric.
Two favorite customers. So Eric Menendez. So I come here with three just short items. So I've been speaking with Keith a couple weeks ago regarding my plan. We are winding down the Good Neighbor class. I know it's an item that's come before the Planning Commission on a few occasions. I believe Susan Peplow might be continuing some of the stuff we started. If you guys wanted, it might be something you want to talk about. And I plan to incorporate what the principles and the positive things that came out of it into our regional approach to the JTGCA. The press release is there. I know there's a lot of, some people here don't support what I'm doing. And, I had a little act of civil disobedience, which everyone's talking about. But I want everyone to know I support this town. And on your agendas, on your release, I did attach kind of the history of the Desert Beacon. I know Commissioner Krushat knows me and, a few of here. But we did work closely with Frank and Travis on this. And Leslie and Max, you guys all do great work. And I'm really satisfied with our Planning Commission. Jessica, I know you are very thorough. I've talked to you about my concerns with campgrounds. I think commercial campgrounds are an area where 29 Palms can be a leader. I think the county's been working on it, but it's stalled. And I think if we can get it right with occupancy, like with the upcoming Offland development, I think it could work. And the developers of Offland someone from their team has been reaching out to me, and we have a dialogue. And I'm trying to get them in with the MBCA, who also, they have the vested interest of this community at heart. I support the Reset Hotel project, I really do. I just wish they would interact a little more and be a little more sensitive to the needs of the community. And this just second item and last is just on homelessness. I know the committee, this comes before the committee often. Part of my frustration with the tourism board, which also kind of falls under tourism, which is the Good Neighbor class and planning because you approve vacation rentals, is the fact that a lot of that money, it's not being spent according to the bylaws. And when I go to these homeless regional steering committees and I see perfectly good programs asking for $3,000 grants here, $5,000 grants here, and there's no money to give to them, but yet we have 20,000 here, 20,000 here for events that we haven't yet proven work under the bylaws of the TBID, that's where I'm upset. So I have the last 3 years warrant registers available online for anyone to check out. It's on our website, JTGCA under the media tab. Thank you so much for your service. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we have any more public comments? Caitlin?
Yes. Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I just have a brief paragraph, I guess, on what I wanted to say. My name is Caitlin Voss, and I'm a 21-year-old active duty Marine, soon to be transitioning out of the service. My partner, who is also 21, is a Marine Corps veteran. After serving our country, we decided to plant our roots here in 29 Palms because we love this city, its people, and its promise. We just recently purchased our first home here and want nothing more than to contribute to the community we've grown to call home. We are here today requesting for you to reconsider our application permit to operate an at-home dog grooming salon, a small-scale service we plan to run under the name Inda Blue Dog Salon. We understand there are three main concerns with our original application, and I'd like to respectfully...
Should we wait till the agenda item? Yeah. It is on the agenda.
Oh.
Okay.
So we're not going to consider her particular permit, we're going to consider the rules.
So is this okay for this comment now or at the,
And my suggestion is we take it.
move it to the, okay. So if you're okay, we're just going to take a pause now and come back when it's on the agenda item for the workshop under the pet grooming.
Great, perfect,
Okay,
thank
great.
you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close public comment. Commission comments and reports of meetings attended. Go ahead, Jim.
All right, thank you. Well, I did attend the 24 May cleanup that we had near Gorgonio Drive. Picked up a lot of trash, it was good. And I would add that, you know, I've been participating in those cleanups since 2017 when I returned to 2016 when I returned to 29 Palms. And I'll always volunteer my truck. If it's available and we have these cleanups, my truck's available and we'll load it up and I'll take it out to either the transfer station or all the way out to the Landers. Because I believe in cleaning up our desert. It's beautiful and I really like doing that. I also attended, this last Saturday, I went to the Morongo Basin, Morongo Basin Conservation Association's meeting that they had on finding balance. And I went there just to listen to what the people had to say, and I just considered it as part of my due diligence. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been out of town for work, so I have not attended any meetings since our last.
I haven't attended any meetings, but I did attend for 1 year the Son of the Desert store, and I really love seeing the historical plaza kind of get reinvigorated with all the events and things happening there. So that is it for me. We're going to move on to the consent calendar.
I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
And we'll vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're going to move to the public hearings on declaring the properties or property located at the physical address 7291 Woodward Avenue a public nuisance and dangerous building.
Good evening, Commissioners. Would you like me to go through the entire PowerPoint or?
Yes, please.
Okay. So starting in December of 2023, we received a number of complaints about 7291 Woodward Avenue. These are the conditions for the past 2 years. So as you can see, there was a fire, there was a considerable amount of debris. We sent the property owner a warning notice on December 7th, 2023. We stayed in communication with him. He did attempt a number of cleanup efforts. First and foremost was the trash and debris that was blowing off the property. He did secure that trash and remove it. And then he stopped contacting us. He was issued his first citation February 20th, 24. A second one on the 21st of June the same year, and the final one this past February. The notice of to abate within 21 days was issued April 24th, and the NOP, the notice of pendency, was issued on April 30th. The signed return receipt for that notice of pendency came in May 14th. So he has one notice of violation, one notice to abate the property, one vehicle abatement, 4 citations, one notice of pendency, and today is the public hearing. We have been in contact with the property owner. He has indicated to us that he does not have the funds to effect a cleanup on this property, and if we have to do it ourselves and put a lien on the property, he understands that.
Okay, thank you.
So our recommendation is on the screen.
You have any comments or questions?
I just want to confirm the discussion we already had. He did receive, even though the letters went to the property, or were addressed to the property, he actually received all the abatement letters,
Yes.
and he's confirmed it.
He's confirmed it
Yeah.
verbally. The last time we spoke was less than 60 days ago.
Okay, thank you.
I did drive by the property just to check it out, and I do agree. Pretty dilapidated, so.
Same, I took a look and it's definitely unsafe. So we want to have a motion to adopt the staff recommendation.
I motion to accept the staff's recommendation.
And I'll second.
And do a vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia,
Aye.
Chair Cure,
Aye.
approved 300 or 00.
Discussion and potential action items.
Okay, so this is a workshop on an issue that has been coming up recently. I'm not asking for a decision tonight, and this is, I know the citizen is here to talk about her particular case, but I just want to make 100% sure that no decision will be made on her case or anything else. We're looking for direction on policy, okay? We have had, actually more than one request for dog grooming and similar types of uses of home occupations. We've rejected them for a few reasons. One is, and by the way, we have animal control here to discuss if you have any particular questions. There are limits on number of animals you can keep on residential properties depending on your zoning, which I'll get to in a minute. Actually, I'll just go to it now. This for residential zones on the left, that's the number of animals you can have per our development code. So the concern is if we have dog grooming, will this potentially exceed the allowable number of pets in any one particular property? The other reasons why we have typically rejected these applications is traffic generated at a home occupation. When you have, typically we encourage people to have home offices where they run their business and then they do whatever field work that they do. For instance, I know this is kind of cliche, but piano lessons, they might go to someone else's house to teach piano, that kind of thing. When you have visitors coming to your, customers coming to your residence, it may trigger additional parking that typical residences typically don't see or require. And when it comes to animals, there may be a concern with noise with excess animals. So these are the reasons why we have typically not accepted home occupations for dog grooming. But we are here to see if the Planning Commission would like to give us different direction than we have typically done on these situations. And if so, we will come back with some other recommendations. And these are probably the primary ones, the customers coming to a home, the parking, and the noise. And if we want to take a broader picture about allowing more traffic in home occupations or noisier things or more typical parking, I mean, we can do that. We just want to have that policy direction from the commission. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Jim, do you want to start with questions for staff or animal control? Do you want to start questions?
Oh, no, I would like to wait for
You want to wait? Okay.
anybody public comment before I
Okay.
first.
Same? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and open public comment. Did you have something to say?
Just answering questions, commissioners, if you had any questions for animal control.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to open public comment, and we'll bring you back up, Caitlin.
Good afternoon again. I apologize for my eagerness to share. Back to my original statement. We understand that there are three main concerns with our original application, and I'd like to respectfully address each one. So first, we were told that there is no traffic shall be generated by such home occupation in greater volumes than would be normally expected in a residential neighborhood, nor shall the use require additional parking spaces than provided on site. We completely understand the city's concern about protecting the peace and integrity of our residential neighborhoods. However, our business model is built on individual appointments only, where we serve one household at a time and by appointment only. This is not a walk-in operation and will not result in any increase in noise, congestion, or traffic. At most, there will be 1 or 2 client vehicles dropping off or picking up at a time for a brief moment while the client retrieves or drops off their dog. Number 2, No dwelling shall be built or altered for the purpose of conducting the home occupation in such a manner as to change the residential character or appearance of the dwelling, or in such a manner as to cause the structure to be recognized as a place where home occupation is conducted. We are fully committed to preserving the integrity of our home. All grooming equipment and fixtures will be completely removable and non-permanent. We will ensure that no structural changes are made to our property. Everything can and will be removed easily to restore to the home as its original state if needed, without damage or cost to the city or any future owners. Thirdly, it shall be unlawful to keep a number of animals exceeding the numbers set out in the city ordinance. For those who don't know what that number is, for our residential area, it is 1 dog and 1 cat. While we understand that the rules are in place for public safety and well-being, we believe that this particular code may be outdated and unrealistic for today's pet-loving community. 29 Palms is home to many military families, retirees, and individuals who care deeply for their animals. Limiting households to 1 dog and 1 cat doesn't reflect the way families and animal care function in the modern world. We're not asking for kenneling rights or to run a boarding facility, but we're offering grooming services for local pets in a calm and clean environment, many of whom are already part of this community and in need of convenient care. Now, why this all matters to us. We are 2 young women transitioning into the civilian life after giving our early adulthood to serve our beautiful country. We don't come from wealth, and we don't have a family nearby to catch us when we fall. They are all left behind in the Midwest when we dedicated ourselves to the Corps. But what we do have is a dream to build something of our own and to be self-sufficient and to contribute to the local economy, doing something that we love and are passionate about. Many of the world's most successful businesses started out of a garage. We're not asking to turn our home into a storefront.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, call up Eric.
Thank you. Just a procedural too. I do have a public comment on the previous item. You didn't open it up for public comment, so I'll do that maybe after if you could. But I do want to just speak in support of this young lady and her partner. I mean, I think we've been through a lot with vacation rentals and running business. You know, the whether with people running those type of businesses. I think to prohibit someone from doing something like a one-at-a-time dog grooming in their home, I think they should have that right. And secondly, you know, there are people who do mobile dog grooming. I see them all over town. So technically, how is that different than someone coming to your house to groom your dogs in a van? I think we should be supporting small businesses in whatever way we can, because right now I think our economic drivers are number 1, the base, and number 2, tourism. And we know tourism is declining. And then number 3, I just see the only opportunity here being gig work, like Uber drivers, you know, DoorDash. You know, so if this young lady and her significant other want to do a business like this, I think it's a good thing for the city. I think we gotta look at this. I totally support what she's trying to do, and hopefully we can figure out a way to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. I can't read what your agenda item says. Oh, okay. This one's specifically 3. Okay. Thank you, Vino. You can.
Thank you for serving the country, Caitlin. I like the hungerness in you. You're young. I can see that you're going to go out and you're going to do really well in the business field one day. My big concern is that I wouldn't like our city to become hodgepodge. In fact, I can guide Caitlin. There was a nice place on Dissing Adobe, and I shared with her just now. I think the place closed down because the people were gone kind of senior age, like me aging, and they wanted to move away. I would like the Dissing community director to look at 29 Palms Highway, take half a mile on the south side, half a mile on the north side, and say that whole area is zoned for Dissing commercial. Let's keep the commercial section of the business in the commercial Dissing section, because if I buy a house, I mean, I trust her that she might follow everything she's saying. But what happens if Vino comes and apply for it, and he start breaking it, and if I'm staying in Desert Knolls, and I'm causing a nuisance to my neighbor? So we should try to keep commercial business in a commercial area. I know this young lady and this partner will do everything they're saying. And she has a great talent. So if we can help her in some other way, we should look at it. I'm not against pets. I myself, having had dogs, my dogs were much more loyal and loving than my kids. So I feel the way the world is going, people will be having more pets. They'll be spending more money in pets. So we need people like this to come and take care of our pets, those of us who can't do it. But we need to guide them in the right way and see how we can help them move to the next level. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comments for this item? Close public comment. Yes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Rick Boyd, for the record, 29 Palms Animal Control Manager. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have regarding Caitlin's business. I've met Caitlin. I met Caitlin and her partner. They came in probably a couple months ago, and just took a look around the shelter and stuff, and offered their services also to some of the stray animals that come in matted or neglected or anything like that. But offered some of their services for us for the homeless animals. So I kind of briefly met her. Yeah. If you guys have any questions for me, I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Jim, do you want to start? Public comment?
Well, okay.
Oh, no.
Sorry, guys.
I have not questions, but I've got some concerns on this. I understand that, she says that for, was it residential multifamily? That's one. She's only take one dog at a time to do a grooming operation and run a business, and I'm all for entrepreneurism. However, I'm saying we do this, and then somebody over in residential where it's 3 dogs says, okay, I'm gonna take 3 dogs, and I'll only have 3 dogs that I'm doing the grooming. So now we got a grooming business that's in the residential, and it's 3. And then somebody decides, you know what, I'm just keeping 3 dogs, so I wanna run a kennel in the back of my yard, and I see this building up like that, because it's like we let 1, we let 2, we let 3. So my next question is, and I'm not saying yes or no to this, I'm just saying this is a concern that a lot of people will have. What is our ruling, because I tried to find in the development code, what was our ruling on barbershops and beauty salons in a private home?
So barbershops and beauty salons are not allowed in
That's what I
private
thought,
homes.
right. So, and I know this is a dog, and I don't want to, quash anybody's entrepreneurial spirit, but I'm looking at something that we may have to do, and what's that going to lead to down the road when somebody sits there and says, okay, you allow me 3 dogs, and I want to run a grooming service, and I want to have 3 dogs, and then it propagates more.
Well, and I want to say this may be a broader picture than this one particular incident.
Yeah.
And this is not, it's not a bad thing or a good thing, it just is,
Yeah.
So if, to your point, what would then be the difference with a hair salon out of a garage sort of
Right.
situation? So, and if we want to revisit that, we perfectly can. I just would like to have some thoughts and directions at this point.
Well, I right now, as it stands, I like the regulation as it is. I like the development code as it's written. That's just my opinion. I'd like to hear from the rest of my fellow planning commissioners.
How many, like you said that this isn't the first instance where people have, how often does this occur?
I think we've had maybe 1 or 2 in the past that we've had turned down, and we do get, it's not often, but we do get complaints about dogs barking and all that kind of stuff. So that's always been a concern here. And this is one of those instances where we're not going to catch everything in the development code or home occupations, because people are always more creative than the development code. And so this is one of those instances where I don't want to, as tempting as it is to address one particular thing on one particular instance, it needs to be a broader direction than that, I think. And we can certainly work with her to figure out something. I mean, if we're looking at entertaining re-looking at some of these policies, I mean, we can certainly work with her to find an alternative for her, at least in the interim. But you know, but this is why we have rejected these applications in the past. And it's one of those, it's not, you know, hair salons are explicitly prohibited.
Yeah.
No one's, you know, and dog grooming has not been coming up that often. So we can revisit it if you like.
I mean, but I get back to my question, if we allow it here
Mhm.
for one dog, and somebody says, I wanna do it for 3 dogs, and I wanna do it in a house, I
that-
mean,
that
are we
could
gonna sit there and
certainly-
say, okay, we limit it?
Yeah, these are the, you know, this is the chart, this is the animal control chart for
Mhm.
residential areas. That's not a far off scenario, where someone in the RL5 who has got a lot more property because they got 5 acres, RM is multifamily, and I think that's why they limited down. I think there's an assumption that they have like apartments or townhomes or something, and I don't know this particular situation of the location. But I think that's why RM was limited to 1 dog and 1 cat. And I think the assumption here is if you have bigger properties, you're allowed to have more animals. What I did not have on here are birds and livestock. So, in the interim, I mean, you can always have a home office of whatever business you want.
Right.
And if they were to do to visit clients in their homes and things like that, that's something we can work through. But as of right now, this is kind of where we had to make a judgment call as whether or not it fits the development code or not, and this is where we are.
Okay, Alex, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to necessarily just close off this idea if multiple people have come to it. I mean, that we are, to be honest, we are a lower income community. I wouldn't want to close off income, and there's a lot of different avenues that the city probably, I'm sure there's ways we can help. As for direction wise, I do think that maybe we should revisit it, but I'm sure there's other opinions. But also, what would your concerns be with like animal control's concerns? Like, just to hear from you, like what are your thoughts on this?
So my thoughts are RM. This is the first time that I've seen, you know, what the zoning was and stuff. And my thoughts would be RM and where exactly that's located, because of course that's residential multifamily. So it could be a trailer park, it could be an apartment complex, it could be a duplex, which is pretty close proximity. And that's why it's a RM residential multifamily, and that's why it's a 1-in-1, 1 dog, 1 cat. So it doesn't become a nuisance, you know, whether it's feces or barking or whatever you may have. The only, not even a concern, but the only questions I would have is how close would the neighbors be? And even if you sent out a letter 300 feet around the residence, you know, asking, you know, if they have any kind of objections or anything, any kind of issues, are those people going to be there in 5 years, 10 years while this business is still thriving 15 years down the road? You know, it's going to have to be solidified. With residential multifamily, there's probably usually parking lots, whether it's a trailer park, apartments, condos. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't seen her property. I don't know where she lives, but looking at the zoning, I know what an RM is. And so not concerns, but something to talk about would be parking and would be noise as a nuisance. Being with an RM, like I said, I don't know the property. I've never seen it on a map, but I'm just looking at the zone. That would only be a concern through animal control, would be nuisance, barking, and parking.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my question for you is, have you had anyone that you've had running an animal business already out of their home that has been an issue that you've had to go out to?
I have.
Okay, is that super common?
Not dog grooming, no.
No.
The dog groomings that we see out here, you know, you have the brick and mortars. You had the one right down here that moved away on the highway in Adobe, and now you got the one up here on 2 Mile in Adobe. And then we've had, in the past years, we've had the mobile units, you know, with the vans and stuff that go around. We've never had an issue with dog grooming businesses. Ours is more of the pet sitting.
Got it.
At-home pet sitters. We do have, not problems, but we have issues that pop up with them.
Okay, thank you.
And rescues. Exactly.
exactly.
There's a couple different words for it, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm open to looking at, again, I think that also then comes back to the barbers and stuff. I mean, I think a lot of people's pets are like people to them. And so I think in a way it goes hand in hand. So if we were going to look at this, maybe potentially look at that.
Yeah, this does open the door for
If you're going to do that, then it has to open it to these other things. I think then you would want to look at all of them and consider if it makes sense as a whole or not. I don't think one or the other is necessarily the way to go, because it's just going to open to the next one if you do one. I know when you brought up feces and that sort of thing, and even though there maybe is like one pet coming in and one pet coming out, you know, that if they're using the bathroom and if it's multifamily, I think, is it a rental? Is there a landlord? Are they getting approval? Will it affect other neighboring rentals in the future if there's that business there? And then, you know, people then don't want to rent next to this kinds of things. So these are
Yeah.
all my red lights of concern, even though I'm very pro, you know, small business and want to see things like this exist. I think if the workaround at this point is to be able to have the home office and go to the clients' houses for the grooming as a way to get started, while we look at all of that, that I think to, you know, have a pathway forward sooner than later would be nice.
Yeah, and the point I was going to say is no matter what zone you're in, you have to have permission of the property owner, whether you're in an apartment or whether you own your own home or whatever it is. You have to have permission of the property owner to do that. That's not going to go away.
Yeah. So I think if the property owner is okay with it and there's neighbors that are okay with it and there's a protocol for all these different potential issues, I think we, you know, the mentioning of the traffic, parking, and noise, but then I think also you brought up the feces. So in my mind, that's also another issue of maintaining that for an animal, right? That could be a fourth item that I would include onto this list.
Sanitary issues in general.
Sanitary, yeah. Because even though it's not a lot of animals all at once, that still is going to be could be a lot of animals over the course of the day, and that makes a big difference. So I'm open to looking at it, but I'm not convinced.
Well, I was just thinking about it because we're thinking about workarounds. If somebody was to license themselves, got a business license in the city as a mobile dog groomer, like we already have, and it happened, and they travel to the places where they groom the dog, but it just happens that every once in a while the people bring the dog to that location.
And here's, it always gets kind of what ify and hypothetical when you're talking about home occupations and what actually happens in a home occupation. I mean, in theory, someone could do bookkeeping out of their home and have a client show up every now and then. You know, the point of home occupations is that it looks and acts and sounds like every other home, without, from the street and from anyone, you wouldn't know that there was a home occupation going in there. We've had other incidences where we had to turn people down because they wanted to hold full-on yoga classes, for instance. You know, that's too much traffic and too much everything going on there. So,
So speaking of yoga classes, would you be able to have one, like, could you be a private trainer where you come to the office and there's one single person?
The whole idea here is you don't want clients coming to the private home.
Exactly. So I'm just saying there's no other home occupation that we offer that would allow for this sort of activity.
No.
Okay.
Not at this time. So if we wanted to allow this type of activity, we'd have to allow it
For all of them.
every other activity that wants to be a home occupation, which, if that's the direction, we can certainly revisit it.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
No, that's not the direction I would like to go.
Okay.
Where anything can be a home occupation.
Okay.
I do agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it currently is. I think if you're going off site to do it, and I would be open to a limitation of, you know, one per day or some sort of thing to allow for those offshoots that maybe someone doesn't have the ability to. But other than that, I don't see how it works out without opening every single other thing to the same changes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is where we're kind of stuck here, so.
Yeah, I see that. All right. Any other,
So it's,
Note.
so do you have is there a particular direction?
Well, if you would, may I suggest that we could put this off until we have another
A full commission?
a full planning commission, so we could hear from our other two commissioners
Fair enough.
and get their input.
Okay.
And that's what I suggest, before we make it a, you know.
Alex?
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I think they both bring two other very good perspectives that I would like to hear about this. So.
Yeah,
I-
I mean, I always admire entrepreneurialism. I
Same.
do, and I'm trying to work on things that'll make it easier to do that, but
Yeah, and so I mean, I think there's the possibility to workshop all of it and see if there's anything. But I think it's difficult if you're going to do it for one, you're going to have to do it for all of them. So that being said, I would rather look at all of it at the same time
sure.
again and put a little bit more, look at all the other work occupations in the ordinance to kind of give myself a refresh on what they all allow. But it doesn't sound like any of them allow anything like this. So I would like to look at it and bring it back around when everyone is here.
Fair enough.
Okay, so any community development director updates?
Okay, so.
Thank you.
So the ancillary activities were heard last week at the council. Working through the upcoming schedule, looks like it's going to be in July is when it's going to be reheard, because they had some questions for me and I wasn't able to. The council in particular had questions on what are appropriate citations and fines and what's the appropriate fees, which which we can revisit in July. And then as a reminder, we're not having the June 17th Planning Commission. So we're gonna have that special meeting on June the 25th. So 25th. 25th,
Which is a Wednesday.
which is a Wednesday. Yeah, provided we don't have any more advertising issues. No, I hope not. I really hope not. So that's where that is. So, and then your next regular meeting would be July the 15th.
Okay, got it. July 15th would be after. So we have
A special meeting on the,
the 25th
Fifth.
special meeting and then no meeting the first week of July because of the 4th.
because it's the 4th of July.
Okay. Great. And then, I mean, I do want to bring back up, I didn't open the public comment for the agenda item 2 because we didn't have any
I didn't put a slip in, I didn't know.
slips
Something came up in the discussion.
here. So how do I handle it?
It-
I can just go ahead and open it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing for agenda item 2. You need to fill out a slip.
Absolutely, happy to do so. I just did, a question came up while you guys were discussing it, so I'm not sure if you were, but recently, our city manager and, I don't know, one of the council members were working on, the council approved to take back $30,000 out of our homeless funds for restorative blight and dilapidated buildings. So my question was, when something like that comes up, so I know this is up on the top, it's not in a high traffic area, how would we know like where that money would, I mean, is there a way we develop, like we figure out like what that money in that pool went for? Because again, my concerns are, again, we're kind of taking money from other programs that were meant for public service. It was meant for services and so forth, but so it'd say, okay, if that's gonna cost $5,000 for that property and they make the decision to fix it, would that mean that could potentially come out of that same pot of money? I guess that's question number one, or comment number one. And then, also we talk about blight, and I know, Keith, I've talked to you in your office about my concern about throughout the past 6-7 years working with you guys on the VHR stuff. We are very strict on the safety inspections and kind of making sure houses are, sorry, I can't see without the glasses, making sure houses are up to code, they're kosher and so forth. I live on Old Dale by the dog park, and I don't know if you guys know where that's at, but there's like half duplexes right there across from the water district. And then there's 3 or 4 of them that are just like falling apart with spray paint. It looks like we've had a hurricane. They've been like that since I've got here. I've lived here for like 6-7 years. You know, I'm leaving, I'm being evicted because I can't pay my rent because I don't have a job. But my question is, I wish we could also kind of look in the future to that type of blight. Like, are we holding these landlords and landowners accountable to improving? Because it also could help with our housing stock. So I know it's not related to this type of blight, you know, this particular item, but I hope we can maybe get that on the radar, because we do have, like, one of my neighbors, I think, as a service member and so forth. This could, you know, and my other two neighbors are elderly, and he doesn't really maintain the interior. I've always maintained my own because I had a team of people to do it. But, you know, he's kind of like a slumlord, the property owner that owns it. So I would hope we could look at improving blight and high traffic areas like that, you know, over, you know, not to say this item shouldn't be done. I agree, it needs to be cleaned up. I'm just curious you know, who pays for it, what pot of money it's coming out of. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to close public comment. We have no study session. So I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you. And Eric, remember to get this slip.
Yes, can I write it on the current one, or, because sometimes they let us do multiple on one, or I could fill out another one to say paper, if you, I mean. I'll do another one. I'll do another one.